What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Gary Scott, aka the Solid People Assassin, back with a video with you guys. Kind of going to be breaking down why I looked for gold for a buy, and why I'm currently actually still in two positions on gold. All right, so if we look at gold just from a higher time frame perspective, gold has been in a major uptrend for a long time, right? And any trader, that's been trading for a while, and even if you're even new, right, everybody has heard this phrase before, right? The trend is your friend. All right, and you want to continue to follow the trend, because if you continue to follow the trend, you'll be on the right side of trades more times than not. All right. All right, so when we come in to look at the look at gold, and look at currently what what it's done and what it's doing right now, right? What I always like to teach my students is to always look at the market in waves, right? Especially when you also even looking at it from the bigger picture. You can get caught up in what the little things are doing, when you really just need to be paying attention to the bigger time frame structures, and how it's and how they're operating. So if we look at this, right, market, like I said, has been moving in a complete uptrend for a while. It created this high here, and what it ended up doing, it ended up dropping back towards the downside. Now, when it dropped, right, after it dropped, it went on a buy move towards the upside, pushed up, came back down, pushed up, and eventually took out this high. Now, the moment that it took out this high, this is our major higher low. All right, and as long as price can stay above this level, we're going to continue to look for buying opportunities only. Yes, this move happened. It gave us a big push towards the upside, took out this high. Now, what we have to understand, right, is yes, this move also happened, but it did not take out this major higher low. Yes, it probably took out lower time frame structural higher lows, but the major higher low was never taken out. Okay, so now once price went down, pushed towards the downside, like it reacted off of a order block level right here. All right, and it also even came back down, right, to you know these levels here, right? And there's some form of a gap here in price as well, all right, that we have to pay attention to. Now, once price pushed up, right? Once price pushed up, it created this level here. What do we notice about this level? Price pushed price back towards the downside, but what ends up happening? Price never closes below this level, and because it never closed below this level, right? It gave us rejection, and then we had price push towards the upside. Now, the moment that this happened, right? My view of gold was and always been for buy opportunities. All those sell opportunities were there, right? I was looking for this high to eventually be taken out. Okay. Like I said, price broke. I like to put my break of structure levels at the bodies of the candles. I used to like to put them at the wicks, but I've transitioned to now loving to put them at the bodies. Either or is right. It's just basically your preference. All right. And my preference is, if price stopped at this level before it went down, right, all I need to see is price close above it with the candlestick above, because then that solidifies the break of structure for me, right? Now, once I know price creates a high, I understand that price has to go into a retest phase. Now, a lot of people can look at this move right here and consider it being a downtrend, right? On the lower time frame, for sure, right? But if you're looking at it from a higher time frame perspective, right, we have to look at this as just a retest phase. Now, when price creates a high and it goes in its retest phase, I tell my students all the time, it's going to find an area of value to react off of, just to send it back in its proper direction. right? Does not mean that there is a chance that you will lose a trade, because you can't win them all, right? So, and sometimes price will invalidate an area of value, right? Anything could happen. But here's what we have. This is the last deepest down candle that formed before this big push towards the upside happened that caused this break of structure. So now, once price reaches this level, we need to see, right, what type of candlesticks are forming at this particular point. All right. As you see here, we have a bullish candle. And let me lock this up so it doesn't keep popping up. Right. We have a bullish candle closing above this order block. It's showing bullish price action towards the upside. Now, market opened on the 17th, right? On two, well, I ain't gonna say open on the 17th, but on Tuesday, right? On Tuesday, price also reacted off of this order block yet again. Excuse me, right? Price reacted off of this order block with something that we call a dragonfly doji, right? If you aren't familiar with the candlesticks, I highly suggest you get familiar with candlesticks, understand the meaning and the power behind them. All right, because what happened is price created this dragonfly doji. When you think about a dragonfly, what is a dragonfly doing? It's flying. All right. And if we can get that off of an area of value, that is confirmation to let us know that the buyers are actually in control of the market. Now, price pushed up, right? Price pushed up. It also, excuse me, price pushed up, right? And then it started to move somewhat sideways, right, to consolidation. But in a sense, all it did was create on a lower time frame a symmetrical triangle. Right now, if you don't know what a symmetrical triangle is, it is a pattern in the market that is formed to let you know that a big move is approaching. All right. Whether that be to the upside or the downside. But the major thing that you have to pay attention to is, how is this trend operating before it even got into the symmetrical triangle? And what did it even do before the symmetrical triangle? Because more times than not all the time, more times than not, whatever it did before it, it's more than likely going to do it after it. All right. So if I go down to the 1 hour time frame, right, I see, right, the push up, right. I see price create a new high, because ultimately what it did is it took out a lower high on a smaller time frame, right? Price created this high, it retested, it pushed back up. Now, when I seen that push back up, I was like, okay, price broke structure here. This is the new higher low on a smaller time frame. So when it goes into that retest phase, I know that this is an order block right here, right? This black candle, if we zoom in, is an order block. I understood that. I knew that. Okay. Again, break of structure. And let me write it out for you. Boom. Break of structure happens. It is a bullish break of structure. Price creates the high. It goes in this retest phase. And from that point on, once I start to see rejections off of this level, I immediately put two positions in. My highest position that I had in was 49.85. The entry I had below that was 49.84. All right. So I have two entries on gold. Could have, of course, put in more, but at the time I just didn't want to be greedy, right? And I just kind of wanted to, have those positions run for sure. All right. Because then also what I understood is where we are in economics and where we are in the world right now, with us going to war with Iran. All right. And typically, when there's economic uncertainty, gold tends to have its bullish runs. Okay. So caught my entries. I seen price breakout. Right. I'm like, okay, well, I see this. I understand that. Now let's go back to the 4 hour time frame. Right. I know that price created this high for more times than not for it to be broken again. All right. Price ended up pushing up. News came out, which caused this long wick on gold. Let me lock that up so that's not in the way, right? It gave this long wick on gold. At this time, not even going to lie to you guys, right? I had my SL in profit, and luckily I placed it where I did because it didn't it didn't wick me out, right? It got very close. Like my SL was probably like right here, right? I put it in profit and it got super close to hitting my SL, but eventually reversed, right? And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, once I seen this candle close, I'm like, oh yeah, the buys are there. You know what I'm saying? Market's going to continue to buy. And it eventually took out this high, right? And what did it do? It created another new high. Now, price went into a retest phase, right? It respected this structural level that it broke. And then what do we start seeing? We start seeing buying pressure back towards the upside. I did have like maybe 2 or 3 entries around this area, but all of them end up getting stopped out in profit. Wasn't tripping, didn't do too much worrying about it. Like I said, I already had entries in. I was expecting for price to continue to move higher to eventually go take out these highs, right? And like I said, I don't believe it's going to take too long for gold to hit 6,000, but for sure it's more than likely going to hit 6,000 very soon. My levels on it is 5,300. That's going to probably be hit when the market opens on Sunday, which is on tomorrow, right? Once the market opens, I expect it to hit 5,300. I do eventually even expect it to hit 5,600. All right. After that comes 6,000. Now, here's what I also want you guys to understand what ends up happening. We had a small symmetrical triangle here, and then we have a bigger one here, right? Again, what happened before the symmetrical triangle? We had a push towards the upside. Price started to consolidate inside of this symmetrical triangle, and then what do we end up having? Price buying out and giving us a big push towards the upside, and price eventually even took out this high. Now, if we go down to the 1 hour time frame, right? Because I was looking at this and I was trying to just see and get my confirmations of where price was working at and the reactions of what was going on when price was working in this particular level. What do I notice, right? I noticed that we get a push up, we get a push back down. Price never closes below this level, even when it rejects. So what happened? Price pushes up, right? Retest, and then price ends up even breaking this previous high here. Okay? It breaks that previous high, creates a new high. But what happens? This is the initial higher low level technically on the 1 hour time frame. Price never closed below this particular level, right? It wicked at it, but it never closed below it. And that's the thing. All right, it can wick all day long, but if we don't get candles closing below higher low points, we're still looking for buying opportunities. All right, so what I understood at that time, right, is that this level is extremely important. Why? This is the last down candle before price broke above here. When it retested, it reacted off of it and created a new high. Okay, now when price came back here, right, remember this is the move that caused price to push to this point. Now price continuously respected it, started to show bullish pressure, right? Came back down to this particular level, and all it did was reject. Never closed below. All it did was reject, and we continue to get bullish candles closing above this particular level. Once I seen that, I was like, okay, I understand where we are. I understand that that area of value is being respected. And now all I'm looking for now is the breakout and for price to eventually go close above these levels. And that it actually did. All right. And these are our buying structural levels. So as long as price, right, not only stay above this level, but as long as it can stay above these levels here around 50 150 or 5 150, right? As long as price can stay above these particular levels and it doesn't break below 5,100, we're still looking for buying opportunities, right? So Like I said, if price can stay above 5,100, and also if it can stay above 5,125, right, we're in a good spot. All right, because all we should be doing from that point is looking for buying opportunities, and the economic news is also following along with what the market is actually even showing you right now. Right, so we got these bullish breaks above, we got these closes above, right? Even when they go in, they hit these levels, retest phases have to come. um does that mean it have to eventually? Does that also even mean price can just continue to run? Most definitely. But at some point, there might be a small retest of some sort, for you to possibly, see opportunities to possibly get in again. Although it's very not clear at the current moment, right? But this is why I actually caught this trade. This is why I bought this trade. I showed you guys my view on it as to why I entered this trade, and I'm currently still in it, right? But like I said, I could have been, buying and holding, but a lot of this consolidation is not ideal to be in, and try to, have your greed take over and hold something in that is in consolidation. So yeah, I could have entered the trade and held it through all of this, but truthfully, I was just like, okay, let me just be okay with where I'm at, be okay with my entries that I do have, right, and just let this trade play out, and then possibly it could give me another opportunity to get in later, because it's clear now, right? It was consolidating then inside of this symmetrical triangle. Now I have the breakout. Now, if price, like I said, if it decides to go into a retest phase, that'll then be another opportunity for me to add more entries. But as of now, right, because of where it was and what it was doing, I didn't want to take that risk, right? And that's okay. Sometimes it's good to just let the entries that you do have, let them just play out, right? And you don't have to add in more, right? Because it's just more you have to worry about. But at the end of the day, this was my move. This is why I seen gold the way I did. Hopefully you guys like this video. And I also will come back up with some more updates when it comes to gold and even silver, right? Because gold and silver tend to move in the same direction. It may create different patterns. They may move a bit different, as far as structurally how they can move at the time, but they tend to go in the same direction, right? I was in this trade around here, but I end up getting stopped out in profit. But this trade is still playing out like I expected it to. I understood where it was. It did break this structure here and create this high here. It did go into that retest phase back to this structural level, and yeah, now it's heading towards upside. If I do end up getting in silver though, I would just wait for a retest to happen so I can get into silver, and hold it out back above these particular highs. All right, but yes, gold and silver tend to move in the same direction, and they both are. They also do even react off of economic news and what's going on in the economy and things of that nature. But yes, hopefully you guys like this video. It's your boy Gary, man, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.